Hey, it's Bola here, and today I'm going to be talking about how to have the money conversation with your partner, with your spouse, with your significant other, because that conversation about money is not always easy to have. But if you're in a serious relationship or you know you're going to be getting into a serious relationship, you want to make sure that both of you are on the same page when it comes to your finances. So I'm going to be sharing with you some tips to help you guide that conversation so that you can make having that money conversation with your partner, setting goals around your money with your partner, you can make that whole process so much easier. So, first things first, you have to be honest with each other about your finances. You have to share what the big picture of your financial situation looks like. And this is on both sides. You have to tell them, and they need to tell you. And the whole point of being honest is so that you guys can establish that open line of communication and so that you guys can work on your future goals together. When you're in a relationship, you guys are a team, you're a unit, and you have a built in accountability partner. And this person is going to support you, they're going to motivate you, and you're going to do the same for them. So, why not work on your goals together? When you're both working on your goals together, you're more likely to accomplish them, and you're more likely to accomplish bigger things than you would have accomplished if you were doing it on your own. So, honesty is really important. Tell them about your financial obligations. What current debt do you have? What bills are you paying every month? And start to have that conversation with them. And it's also important, like I mentioned, to have the conversation about your goals. Where do you see yourselves in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years? Having that conversation will allow you guys to establish a focus, a joint focus, so you both know what you're working towards. And sometimes having the conversation about where you stand with your finances can be difficult. And so it's important to set the stage correctly. Don't make it a big event, make it a conversation. You know your partner best. So figure out when is a good time to bring up the conversation and make it casual. And also keep in mind that you don't have to talk about everything going on with your finances in one sitting. You can have this conversation, over time, over a few days, over a few weeks, even if you need to, but make sure that you lay out the big picture of your finances with them and they do the same with you. And one of the things I usually tell people that ask me is that you can start off by saying, listen, I want to come clean about my finances and I hope you'll do the same. And even if you get mad at me, the reason why I'm telling you is because I want to make change. I want to pay off this debt now. I want you to know about it. I want to have your support and set the expectation that, if you have anything in your financial situation that you think I may not be happy with, that's okay because I'm going to support you. So, again, honesty is the best policy when it comes to your finances in a relationship. So, the next thing you want to do when it comes to having this conversation about money with your partner is you want to remember that it is not a fight. So many people make the mistake of approaching this conversation about money with their partner so aggressively, or they get on them and they nag them about their finances and what they're not doing, and they only talk about what they're doing wrong. But again, keep in mind that your significant other, your spouse, your partner, they're part of your team. They are for you, they're not against you. So don't approach it aggressively. Don't approach the conversation in anger. Don't approach the conversation when you're under stress. It's important to look at the whole situation objectively and find the approach that works best for your partner. So you know what triggers them, what makes them upset, what makes them sad, what makes them happy, and use that as leverage as to when you have the conversation. But it is not a fight. And if you get into the conversation and you feel like it's turning into a big fight, then shelf it for a later time. It's important that, again, I keep saying it's important because this is your relationship, this is you and your person, and you don't want money to be the reason why you don't work out. And unfortunately, in the society that we live in, money is a lot of times, almost 50% of the time, the cause for breakups and divorces. And so it's all about the approach and all about both of you coming to the table to have the conversation with open minds and open hearts. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to get on board to, what is they're trying to accomplish, like maybe curbing spending or paying off your debt, but the approach matters. If you keep approaching somebody aggressively and angrily, and when you're always under stress or when you're upset, they're less likely to listen to what it is that you have to say or take into account your feelings because they feel like they're being attacked. So again, it is not a fight, it is not a fight, it is not a fight. Okay, so next, once you guys have had the big conversation or a series of conversations and you've kind of laid things out on the table, then you want to make sure that you start working on those goals together. And that starts with budgeting together. So put some time on the calendar once a month, and in advance of each month, sit down together and go over your budget. What are your expenses for the coming month? what is your income for the coming month? What are the one-time expenses that you have coming up, like travel, weddings, gifts, etc., and talk through them. That way, you guys are both on the same page when it comes to how much you're going to be spending and how much you're going to be saving. And so, a couple suggestions to help you guys be successful with budgeting could be that you both allocate free spending money to each other, which is basically money that you can spend on whatever you want, no questions asked. Or you can come up with a rule with each other where you say, if you're going to be spending more than X amount on something that we did not plan, let's have a conversation about it. What you want to keep in mind when you're managing your money as a couple is that you don't want to get on each other's nerves about every single cent. Um, it can be annoying, it can be aggravating, and it's just really annoying. And so once you've set your budget and you've allocated how you guys are going to, spend and save, then you want to have periodic check-ins, but you don't want to be texting them or calling them at work every single day. And you don't want that to happen to you either, saying, oh, I just saw a line item for gum. I just saw a line item for a $2 drink. Like, you want to make sure that you be mindful of how you check in on your budget. So set time aside to check in every week. And the last thing I want to say about talking to your partner about money or managing your finances together as a couple is that you want to do what works for you. And so, what works for another couple might not necessarily work for you because you and your partner know each other best. And so, you want to take what works best for you. And so, I've given you all these suggestions and all this advice. And so, it's now up to you to figure out a system that works for you. And that also includes where you put your money and how you manage the actual money. So maybe having a joint account is what works for you, or maybe having a joint account and then separate accounts is what works for you, or maybe having completely separate accounts is what works for you. The point is that you want to do what works for you because you guys know your relationship, you know each other, and the last thing you want is to have somebody else's advice cause conflict in your relationship. So that's it for this video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. And if you have, please subscribe, and I'll be back again with a new topic really soon. Thank you.